All right. Well, we've got nutritionist Kennedy Springer on the call, and this is going to be great because Kennedy has some fantastic experience in sport nutrition, working with specifically right now the UNLV athletic teams. And it'll be fun to dive into nutrition a bit more. I guess I am guilty of thinking of nutrition as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. That's as deep as I go
Yeah.
with nutrition. How are you today?
Doing well. Excited to be here and actually like very excited to dive in a little past the carbs, protein, and fat.
Yeah, I love it. And that we're going to talk about sports science in general. And sports science has so many different avenues of trying to understand performance. And nutrition is such a critical part of human performance. So
Yeah.
this is going to be fun to dive in a little deeper. But before we get into that part, I'd love to hear a little bit about your academic background, where you did your training, and then ultimately the position you're in now.
Yes. So I'll explain my background. It's changed a little bit for dietitians. When I went to school, you only needed a bachelor's degree to become a dietitian. Now you need a master's. So my background, I was actually pre-pharmacy. So I was interested in nutrition and wanted to pair that with pharmacy. So I was a nutrition major with a chemistry background. And then just with some life circumstances, changed direction, but didn't have anything that I could use my nutrition degree for without becoming a dietitian. So I did undergrad at SUU. I got that bachelor's of science with a nutrition science degree, and then ended up going to the University of Utah and doing a master's degree there that was a coordinated program that allowed me to become a dietitian as I pursued my master's degree. So that's kind of the path a lot of students are now taking because it is required to have a master's degree now. So that was my school, my education. Sports can sometimes be tricky to get into, but I was fortunate to get a Gatorade SNP program spot. So I did a fellowship at the University of Washington. There's 10 Gatorade SNP fellows each year, and I applied for that and got that. So that was my first job in sports nutrition. And then I jumped over out to Kentucky. I worked at the University of Louisville for a little bit and then took the director job here at UNLV, and I've been here just over 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the non-straight path that you took to get
Yeah.
into nutrition. I think that's a great message for students to hear is that, yeah, you were in one degree pre-pharmacy, but then something caught you and went to nutrition. What was it that drew you away from pharmacy of all things to nutrition?
Yeah, this is like actually kind of a crazy story, but I was diagnosed with cancer my senior year of college and was forced to just, I had worked at a pharmacy at that time, but when you go through chemo treatments, your immune system is so low. So I was unable to work at the pharmacy anymore. And I was doing my chemo treatments. I stayed in school and everything, finished my degree. But something like that just kind of causes you to reflect on life. So as I was reflecting on life, I never played college sports, and that was my goal, was to play college sports. So I was like, I'm not going to go to pharmacy school. I'm going to take a semester and go back and play college volleyball. And so I went back and played a semester of college volleyball at Utah State Eastern, ended up getting injured, tearing my ACL for the third time. And that was kind of when I realized I have this nutrition degree and I love sports. How can I combine all of it and how can I pursue a career? So, kind of to your point, like it was very roundabout. I had this semester where I was playing volleyball, then injured. I ended up joining the coaching staff. I looked up University of Utah's program for sports nutrition and I needed a few extra classes. So I took another semester to get all of my prereqs and then ended up applying to their degree. So I think that's kind of life. You have lots of different things that hit you and you figure it out and you learn what areas you're passionate about.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea that
Yeah.
you kicked cancer's butt. That is awesome. That is really, what an amazing story.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. And so that's what ultimately you just got into the nutrition aspect of being healthy as you go through, such a battle. But we can say that you've beat the battle with cancer at this point. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. I actually will hit 8 years here pretty soon. So we're doing good.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Wow. Well, and what a athletic career even after that, and a testament to your drive and your ability to overcome something like that. So, congratulations!
Yeah.
I'm just floored. I had no idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, let's talk a little bit about getting into the sport world
Yeah.
as a sport nutritionist, or do I say sport nutritionist, or do I say registered dietitian, or what's the correct way to
Yeah.
refer?
Yeah, correct is registered dietitian just because we do have that credential. So registered dietitian and I just have an emphasis in sports.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So you were an athlete and you had a life experience that really drew your attention to the importance of nutrition.
Yeah.
Now you're in this position. Talk a little bit about what it's like to be in the position that you're at now.
Yeah. I think part of being drawn to sports nutrition was I did it all wrong as an athlete. I come from a really small community that we didn't have nutrition as a resource, and where I played college volleyball, we didn't really have any nutrition resources there either. And so I think once I finally went to school, I still remember the first time I remember learning about Reds and just underfueling as athletes. And I was like, wow, that was me as an athlete. And I realized just the potential athletes could reach if their nutrition was in place. And so that's where I really started getting passionate about nutrition and even the education piece. I love educating athletes. And so kind of where I am now, it's part giving back of, hey, I wish this was a resource I had. But then as I've learned more and educated myself more, I've seen the power of nutrition being able to transform an athlete, not only as when they're an athlete, but also when they leave here and they're living their own life.
Oh, I love it. And you just brought up an incredibly important term, reg.
Yeah.
If you would, go ahead and define that and talk a little bit more about that from a sports science perspective and what you do.
Just to simplify it, what it means is the calories you're expending and burning are higher than the calories you're intaking. So we have a deficiency in the mismatch of those. And it's actually really common within our athletes. So you see it male and female. You really see it heavy on the female side because we're able to see the symptoms so often. So when you are in that deficient state, you're not fueling your body enough for the activity you're asking it to do. We start to see hormones change. We start to see stress fractures, injuries, losing their menstrual cycle. And I mean, there's so much research, so many papers that anyone can go read on the consequences that athletes experience when they are in this deficient state. But it's something that's newer coming out. It used to be the female athlete triad. Now we're doing the Reds, and it's affecting all athletes. And something that, as especially a collegiate sports dietitian, we see a lot, and we really try to be on top of to make sure our athletes are eating enough.
Oh, well, that is so important because we talk about the importance of a healthy athlete in order to have a healthy performance or a great performance. So that healthy aspect is so critical. All right, so I'm really interested in the Reds and how you monitor athletes and how do you adjust their diet, because sometimes we get into these eating habits that are really difficult to break, either not eating enough or eating the wrong types of things that aren't helping us.
Yeah, there's lots of different things, and this is where like the whole sport performance team comes into play. But really, when an athlete gets here, especially when we get a new athlete, we sit down with them from a nutrition end and basically a consult screening.
Mm.
So as we're talking with the athlete, going through a day, like what does a typical day look like for you? Most of the time, it's skipped meals. So they're going through their day and it's like, oh, I ate breakfast. Maybe I skipped breakfast. I ate lunch. I ate dinner. What are they doing? So that's kind of your first red flag or thing that you look for is my athlete even eating enough meals throughout the day? A lot of times they're not, and that's already one of the red flags for Reds. Another one, as athletic training is meeting with the athletes in our team physicians, what is their medical history? So we've even had quite a few female athletes where they've had stress reactions or stress fractures in their recent medical history. So another red flag of Reds, hey, are we actually eating enough? Have we been multiple years without eating enough? Another one that we always ask, this is for female athletes specifically, but we ask them menstrual cycle. When are you on a regular menstrual cycle? Are you having a menstrual cycle every month? And if that's irregular, it's another sign for Reds. And then kind of getting into even the sports psychology, they're a huge part of our performance team, but we ask questions there too of what's your relationship with your body and what's your relationship with food. because
Mhm.
that can be another big red flag where an athlete doesn't have a great relationship with their body or doesn't have a great relationship with food.
Mhm.
So gathering all that different information and creating that relationship with the athlete, that's where we kind of identify. You're going to have some of your severe cases that are maybe borderline eating disorder or disordered eating, and you're going to have some that it was just a lack of education. And once we educate them and we increase, hey, you've got to be eating your 3 meals a day, you've got to be doing these different things, we're able to get their weight up a little bit. We're able to prevent some of those symptoms. And some that are more extreme and it's more on the eating disorder side, we bring them into our full eating disorder treatment plan. We make sure that they're meeting with sports psych, medical team, nutrition, and keeping them healthy enough to be on the field or on the court.
Oh, this is amazing work. I mean, that is 7 days a week type of paying attention to people. And I should know this, but I don't know how many student athletes we have. It's over 300, right?
Yeah, yep, we're about 350.
350. Okay.
So, yep.
And so obviously, you can't meet 350 people every day. So I'm wondering, is there any technology that you use to help monitor things that you can quickly look at athletes? Or I'm also wondering, do you train the performance team? And I know you've got a staff of them in terms of what to listen for to then report back to
Yes.
you.
Yes. So it's more of it's both combination, right? So we've worked really closely with sports science and the different like surveys and the things that we're giving. Like even we have a daily survey with some of our teams where they're even submitting like, did you eat 2 meals today? Did you eat 3 meals today? Things like that where they're helping us gather the information. But I would say the bulk of what we do, especially from the nutrition end, we're so short-staffed compared to how many athletes we have that we train the performance team. So one of our big ones is our athletic trainer and our strength and conditioning coach. They have daily touch points with those athletes. They're doing the initial physical with the athlete. So most of the time, I've been present and in front of the team, but maybe it's a roster of 50 people. That athletic trainer is so crucial for me because they're the one communicating to me, hey, so and so is talking about this today. It kind of sounds like they're restricting here, or it sounds like they're eating maybe it's like really terrible food and that's like why they're feeling so bad during a practice. So we step in, but we really do rely on that whole performance team and we train them to know what to look for, what to listen for, and to immediately connect us with the athlete.
Oh, I love it. So, given the breadth of sports that we have here, and the sports are year round, I mean, for the
Yeah.
most part, and even over summer, there's training going on.
Mhm.
How do you sort of manage all? Well, you've got to be knowledgeable of so many different sports and the seasons and the training, cycles and all this. How do you keep track of that? Is that part of the discussion of the performance team?
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. And that's why I tell students too. I'm like, intern, volunteer, go see it. Like make sure you know what you're getting into because on the surface, like this is an awesome job and it's so cool and we're so fortunate to do what we do. But it is a 7 day a week, 365 days a year, never stops type of job. So I think one of the biggest things, it is a lot to manage. So you have to figure out how you work and how your teams work. But one of my favorite things that's really helped me is our sport performance team will meet every other week or every week, just depending on what the team is. So when we get in those meetings, we have the coaches present, we have the athletic trainer, the sports science, we have the strength and conditioning coach, sports psych, and nutrition. So
Mhm.
we're all kind of in this round table meeting where we're kept up to date. Hey, from the coaches end, here's what training looks like this week. Here's our priorities this week. Here's what we have coming up. From sports science, maybe they recently did testing, force plate testing, or they did like the whole array of tests and they're bringing that information. Strength and conditioning can kind of tell us, hey, we're in a loading phase right now, we're in a deload phase, what's going on there? Athletic training brings us the injuries and like what's going on. You'll even sometimes see academics at those meetings so that we know, hey, what's going on in school. So those meetings are really important for us as a dietitian because we're involved in so much of that of, hey, are we increasing calories right now? What is the training load? Does it need to be adjusted based on our nutrition plans and what we're doing with our athletes? But even things of, hey, we have a game coming up. Let's coordinate with coaches. Where are the teams eating? When are they eating? What is the timeline? So a lot of organization, and you got to be really good at communicating with all parties.
Oh boy. Well, and it's wonderful that we've got such a great sports science team at
Mhm.
UNLV. And so we're communicating, let's say you identify an athlete or even a group of athletes who maybe need a little bit more nutritional advice or guidance. How do you go back? Do you work back with the coach, or is this something where you're working more directly with the athletes?
Yeah. Honestly, it's more directly with the athletes.
Mhm.
And I think every dietitian is a little bit different, but for me, that's the satisfying part of my job. That's why I do what I do. So as soon as like something comes up where like they need me, and they're more of a high concern athlete, I'm meeting directly with them and connecting with them. There's a handful of athletes that I'm seeing weekly because of their need and where they are. There's also a handful of athletes that I meet with maybe once a year. So it just kind of depends, but most of the time it's directly with us. Um, and just kind of combining and bringing in the people that need to be brought in as our schedule allows and as we're working with the athlete.
Mm, this is fantastic. I am learning a ton here, so this is really great. So I'm interested. Looking back on your education, knowing what you do now, what courses or maybe groups of courses were really critical to your success now? And maybe what courses do you wish you had time to take,
Yeah.
didn't have time to take because, degree programs are degree programs and you got to move through them?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think some of the important ones looking back, especially when it gets to nutrition, there's the first early classes with nutrition are a lot because
Mm,
it's so much information. It's all the metabolism and learning everything about food. And a lot of people take nutrition and they take that first intro class and they're like, I do not want any part of this.
mhm,
But it gets way more fun after that. So I think one class, like sticking with nutrition and like even just taking a basic nutrition course for even people who don't want to pursue nutrition, like maybe you want more of the sports side or you want like a strength and conditioning side, athletic training side. Take that beginner nutrition class, knowing you might not love it, but you're going to get so much information and learn so much from it. And then, especially with sports, always taking a sports nutrition class.
mm,
I think that there's a lot you can learn from those classes, and you get a lot of information like how to directly help athletes. But what I say with those sports nutrition classes is always doing an internship or some volunteer experience with it. Because if you don't have that, then you come into the field thinking that you just get to meet with athletes all day and you get to prescribe nutrition plans and you didn't even realize, hey, you actually have to do the food ordering and you have to haul food all around campus. And there's so much more to our job than just prescribing a sports nutrition plan. So I think that that's something I would really encourage athletes, like make sure you take those classes, but then also have the experience side with it so that you know there's more to the job than
mm.
that.
Oh,
Uh,
that's great advice because yeah, the
yeah.
logistics of just running it is
Mhm.
that alone is a special skill set.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes we joke that we're like full-time catering service managers as well with all the food.
Totally, I get that. All right, so now let's switch gears a little bit to the research. We talked about the Reds a little bit, but
Mhm.
what emerging sport science, sport nutrition research do you see that's really sort of contemporary right now?
Yeah. Love that question because sometimes we get so busy with our jobs that I'm like, oh, I haven't even looked at the research and like what's new and what's coming out. But I think some of the things exciting, especially like at this collegiate level, back to that Reds, one thing that's exciting and looking for in research is more and more female athletes are actually being studied now. And so whether it's related to Reds or other things, like we just haven't seen a lot of research related to female athletes. So I think the priority on that has been really exciting, and we're going to see a lot of new things. Another one that I'd even say is creatine. Like we've used it and we prescribe it and we recommend it to our athletes, but it's usually been related to muscle mass gains. Whereas now there's so much new emerging research around creatine of, hey, can this actually be beneficial for brain health? And should we be using it in football with concussions?
Hmm.
Even looking at like recovery times across the board with athletes. Previously, it was like, oh, it's these short muscle building teams that are doing the spurts and the short bursts of things, but also the benefit of like a cross country athlete and swimmer that's doing distance. We're seeing some benefits with creatine there. Even sleep, there's been a couple of recent sleep research. So there's a lot in creatine that's really exciting as well, where hey, we used to push it for muscle mass, but what are all these other benefits that we're seeing with creatine? Those are kind of two of the newer ones that like I've somewhat followed and think are really interesting and that students should really be aware because it could be changing recommendations and things that we're doing as we move forward in sports.
Yeah, I love it. It's a constantly evolving area in terms of information that's helpful to an athlete or someone just on daily health.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's switch back to the student who may be listening to this podcast and or this video and saying, "Oh, I want to look, I want to find out more about this. What is some good next steps for the undergraduate student?"
Yeah. One of the biggest things I would say, and I actually was a little late to the game as a student in this, but for sports nutrition specifically, following our national organization. So ASPDA is the National Nutrition Sports Nutrition Organization. It stands for American Sports and Performance Dietitians Association, but they have a lower cost student membership. And so becoming a member of that organization was actually really huge for me as a student because you have access to so many resources. Back to your research question, they have a research database that you get updated monthly, and you can see, hey, what's the research that came over the last month? What are new things there? They have just every couple months little forums that you can join. And so you can get on these little calls and you can learn more about nutrition and how it's advancing in sports. And that's a really good resource. And then there's an annual conference as well that students can attend. So I would say from an outside perspective of, hey, I want to somewhat be involved with this, even if you're not a dietitian, this is a really great organization that's going to educate you on the nutrition piece, but also going to connect you with a lot of people in the field that's where jobs come from. So it's, hey, who can you get connected to? Can you go to a conference? Can you join one of these educational calls? And then who knows where that advances you and where the opportunities open up from there.
That is great advice, and get involved outside the classroom, and I'm sure you can attest to this that when you find that thing you love doing, going to conferences or being involved in those types of opportunities, that's not work. That's like
Yeah.
easy, and you want to find these things out to be part of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, for sure.
Kenny, Kenny, this has been fantastic. I am so grateful that you shared your story about how you got into nutrition and just your experience as a registered dietitian in a sport performance setting. So, thank you so much for doing this call.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right. Well, hey, have a great rest of the day, and really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. You too.